There's a lot of angry NASCAR fans that are fuming after the organization decided to ban the Confederate flag at its events. So NASCAR had announced on Wednesday that it would ban the flags just 2 days after the only black driver in the association's top series had called for the change. So now this is interesting, right? Now, before I get into it, remember NASCAR is a private agency, right? And so this isn't censorship. What this is saying, hey, we don't feel comfortable with those symbols of hate at our rallies or at our races, right? They're able to do that. So this isn't a free speech. This isn't a First Amendment issue. So that said, according to a statement the league posted to the Twitter account, the flag will no longer be allowed at races or displayed at any NASCAR properties. The presence of the Confederate flag at NASCAR events runs contrary to our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all our fans, our competitors, and our industry. Now, this is partly thanks to driver Darrell Bubba Wallace Jr. So he talked about this. He's the only black driver in the top spot. And he says, hey, a lot of kudos to NASCAR for doing this. He said the Confederate flags at races made many people uncomfortable. We shouldn't have anybody feeling uncomfortable. Inclusion is what we're trying to accomplish here. Unity. All right. Not only that, but you got to understand NASCAR is a business, right? So NASCAR is a business, and if you're a business, you want as many people watching and going to your races as possible. And so that flag's a literal flag of treason. And that's it. I mean, really. Now, Wallace said that while some people say the Confederate flag is about heritage, to a lot of people it's a sign of hate. And look, that flag is what literal American traders took into battle against real Americans. It represents a nation who, in its very short time on Earth, thankfully, was fighting for the right to own human beings. They turned their backs on our country so they could keep people as slaves. That is what that flag represents. And look, if you don't know that, you should really look up the history of this flag before you start flying it. It doesn't represent the South or hunting or fishing, as I've seen, some people claim it does. No, it doesn't. It doesn't represent that. It's actually not heritage at all. In fact, I think Southern people have a much better heritage than that. So why honor a flag of treason? Honestly, it doesn't make any sense. And look, I think it's because a lot of people don't actually know the history of that flag, and that even includes black people in the South. Because we have an education system, thanks to the Daughters of the Confederacy and other similar groups, going around and trying to rewrite history to soften what was the horrible institution of American slavery in the South. They tried to soften that image to, make it seem like, it really wasn't that bad. No, it was bad. It's a stain on our history. And it should be not forgotten, but it should be put behind us. That's why I have no problem with taking down Confederate monuments, taking down Confederate flags. You want to put them in a museum, that's fine, so we can remember some of the horrible stuff that we did in our past. That's 100% fine to me. But we shouldn't be lionizing. We shouldn't be looking up at these symbols with any sort of reverence or pride. That's not something to be proud of. Now, Wallace told CNN in the past that he had not been bothered by the flag, but started to when he began educating himself on how uncomfortable this makes people. Quote, there's going to be a lot of angry people that carry those flags proudly, but it's time for change. We have to change that. So now he says that, and of course, there are plenty of angry people, and they lashed out. One person said, this is the final straw. I have been watching NASCAR since the 70s. I used to go to races proudly with my pops. All lives matter. Stay out of politics. You lost a fan. I love how they had to throw in all lives matter, because the only time people use all lives matter is as basically a foil to Black Lives Matter. In fact, we never heard all lives matter until people started saying Black Lives Matter. And it only seems to be used in the context of a Black Lives Matter protest, which is really strange timing. What happened to All Lives Matter when people were dying at the border and still are, by the way? People are in cages dying of COVID-19. What happened? I thought all lives mattered. Where are you guys? Where are you? Oh, right. You're not here. Of course not. Because honestly, all lives aren't going to matter until Black lives matter. And by the way, all lives aren't going to matter until Indigenous people's lives matter too. And so those are two groups that are in major trouble right now. So now, more angry people. One says, this and now kneeling? If I see them showing kneeling, I'm done with NASCAR. Where else are you going to find someone doing a left turn for 360 laps? I mean, I guess you could probably do it, I don't know, on your street maybe, or in the backyard, I guess. I'm going to make my own NASCAR. Blackjack and hookers. Another one, calling themselves Tennessee Patriot, by the way, and I love this. NASCAR is woke. Now watch them go broke. Ooh, you made a rhyme. The flags will continue to fly. This is the USA. Very ironic statement from Mr. Tennessee Patriot, who advocates for flying a flag of a country that doesn't exist, but that only existed because they left the United States. They committed treason and then launched a war against the United States. You're a Tennessee Patriot. What country are you being patriotic towards? It ain't America, that's for sure. It's like flying an ISIS flag. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Another one says, oh my God, no backbone. Way to go, NASCAR. Cave into the few that think everything is offensive. All of a sudden, after years and years of every damn thing's offensive, you sound like you're offended. He does. He really sounds like he's offended by this. What about my right to see it fly and to enjoy what's been around for years? Total snowflake. Super offensive. You know what's funny? Like, he says he never had an issue with it, right? As if he's the only person that matters. As if nobody else has had an issue with it for a long time and has been speaking out about this for decades, for actually even longer. I mean, it's been a problem for a very long time, but nobody did anything about it because it's white supremacy, essentially. So these are the same people offended by Colin Kaepernick kneeling. And now finally, speaking of offended, you've got the king of being offended, Donald Trump. So now this is not really related to NASCAR, but it's related to, of course, symbols of the Confederacy. For example, renaming military bases that were named after Confederate generals and officials. Trump tweeted this, that he will not even consider renaming military bases that hold titles of former Confederate leaders. Our history is the greatest nation in the world, will not be tampered with. Respect our military. And he calls these bases part of a great American heritage. Oh, well, good news. I mean, for you guys, the bases will be fine. Now, for me, I would start closing bases all over the world. I would slash the Pentagon budget and use it to fund healthcare and other, things like, for example, free college education for 4 years. Because there's no reason we need to be having such a gigantic military bases essentially everywhere. But okay. I think, though, even if we're going to keep the bases, that we shouldn't have them named after loser generals. I'm just saying, well, why do you think that that's like a good thing? Like, it's strong to name a military base after a bunch of losers. Doesn't make any sense. And by the way, losers that tried to keep other human beings as slaves and then lost. But here's the thing. To really understand why this is happening, why people are upset by this flag and by these statues and these military bases, you have to have a little bit of empathy, right? You have to understand, you have to put yourself in other people's shoes and realize how upsetting it is, how terrible it is to live in a place where there is a symbol of hatred for you as a person, as an identity, displayed prominently in a place that you live. I mean, a celebration of people and symbols who, look, if those people were alive right now, would love to put black people in literal chains. So understand that, right? That is who you're celebrating when you celebrate these quote unquote Confederate heroes, right? These are people that, again, put yourself in the shoes of a black person, that if that person were alive today, that you're celebrating would want to put you in chains and sell you at market. Not such a good feeling, huh? A little thought experiment. You should try it out. You might not like where you end up in this. I mean, I know I'd be upset by that. But apparently in these people, empathy seems to be broken or doesn't extend to people who don't look like them. But anyway, as far as NASCAR is concerned, I think it's a good step. They tried doing this after Charleston, and they backed off because of the gigantic backlash. But at least this time it feels like they're finally following through. And to that I say, good on them. It's about damn time. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.